Hello and howdy, and welcome back to City Skylines 2. Today will hopefully be the last episode of District Planning 101 series. We are diving into the remaining aspect of district planning, parks and commercials. Whether it be a small town or a bustling city, parks or green spaces and commercials are present everywhere. In the end of the video, I'll show you a new way of recording cinematics for your city that nobody has talked about till now. Stay tuned for that. Before we move on, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, and if you are new or enjoying my content, please subscribe, and a huge thank you to these for joining the Patreon, and thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it. Let's start with the whereabouts of parks, their role and what things to make sure while placing or making them. The positives that a park provides to a neighborhood or to multiple neighborhoods also sometimes becomes its negative. Happiness and land value. In both City Skylines game, park provides happiness and improve the quality of life for the Sims, making them to consider upgrading their houses. This in turn increases the land value of the area, making the rent and the cost of houses in particular neighborhoods quite high. Both of these positives doesn't do harm to your neighborhood or the city until you accidentally or intentionally overdo them. For example, placing too many parks in a neighborhood will for sure push Sims to upgrade their houses, resulting in more taxes. But because of increasing land value, if there is any new development in the area, whether it be residential or commercial, it may interfere with them, especially in City Skylines too. Hence, balancing happiness of the Sims with an appropriate land value is the key. To do that, in many cities in real life, having one decent sized park in middle or anywhere within a district or neighborhood makes sure you are meeting the needs to Sims in the neighborhood, but also making sure the land value doesn't skyrocket. Many times parks are not just confined to small space in a neighborhood but are spread throughout, leading to some pedestrian friendly connections. This, in a few cases, can help with traffic management. Like here in Dallas, we have two pathways that are running all the way across so many blocks. We all know how important commercials are. They provide leisure activities and also help in selling goods that your city is producing or maybe is being produced in neighboring cities. Commercial zones also provide jobs to citizens, which is another way of reducing unemployment. It also generates a very good amount of tax revenue, which is a positive. Depending on the location, you can also place 2 to 3 types of commercials in your city. Low density commercials like local shops and businesses. Big retailers. In City Skylines 1, if you use workshop, you have a ton of options for some big commercials. But even in City Skylines 2, you have a couple of them. High density commercials that are mostly suitable for downtown or city centers. So, where do we place our parks and commercial? Let's start with parks. As we have taken a look earlier, you have only one park per neighborhood, or maybe two neighborhoods sharing parks. This is applicable to either of North American or Europe neighborhoods, but I am going to show you in North American layout. So over here we have some space, and I think this will be a perfect place where we can make a big park. Plopping a pre-made park or making your custom one totally depends on you. In City Skylines 1, you have a privilege to make custom and functional parks, but here, depending on use case, we will make one. So let's delete the roads, and I will make the park in background because it will just eat up your time. And here we are to the finished product. As you can see, I have went with a totally custom route for a park with 3 entrances to the park and a nice colorful bush lining on the sides leading up to the fountain. We have a few connections from these 3 main pathways that just circles around the empty spaces. Among the 3 empty spaces, one is all pathways, second has some gazebo sitting area at the end, and last but not the least, we have a small pond. For some major detailing aspects, I have used terrain surface pack made by Gaga XM. just adding some layers of grass, fallen flowers, pebbles, etc. Then to show some fallen leaves, I have used fallen leaves decal, also made by Gaga XM, to have a more realistic look. And then some park lights and benches all lined up nicely with a fence at the corners with this edge bush lining work. You can do the same sort of detailing in City Skylines 1 as well, so it totally depends how you want to detail and how much further you want to detail your park. In City Skylines 2, to make this functional, you can place the invisible pathway network following the pathways. So when this place will be all crowded, you will see Sims crossing via park to get to another place. Sadly, we can't yet go full custom park route, but this is how you make a park, and this single park will look really beautiful amidst all the houses. But if you are determined to make a functional park that does something to your city or provides something for your city, you can place however you want, then remove the fences and surface of the park. Then using Anarchy, you can connect them all together with the same invisible pathway tool and some surfaces and all the same sort of detailing over them, and it will basically become like a functional park. Both parks, whether it be custom made or a working one, both looks good in their own perspective. Both have their own advantages and disadvantages. It's up to you which one you are going to pick. Let me know down in the comments. Now moving to commercials, due to the delivery trucks that come to these commercials, they are better to be placed on roads that can handle traffic. Usually commercials are seen near collector or at the border of the neighborhood, but in many major cities you will also find them in neighborhood main road, which mainly includes restaurants. So over here we have the same North American layout, and I have the USA Southwest and Northeast pack selected, and we will start placing them along the neighborhood main road and then the collector. Keep in mind the low density commercials will go on the neighborhood main road, and make sure to have appropriate depth of the commercials, and we will end up with something like this. And if I place some houses in remaining open areas on the main road, you can see something feels off. There are just too many commercials, and this is what we don't want to do. You must always keep the commercials in neighborhood main road up to bare minimum. So with this segment, we can reduce the commercials to only 2 to 3, and same thing for the rest. So after fixing the commercials and zoning all the houses, this is how our 4 episode worth of knowledge about district planning is looking. This is the end result. We made sure we have a good layout base. We made sure to have variations in the grid and rest of the layouts. We also have different densities here. We also made sure to have services in their appropriate places and to choose appropriate services for this 4-tile wide city. And lastly, choosing the best possible space for commercials and having a proper working park in the middle and a custom one on the left. As you can see the final output, this feels much more natural and realistic compared to just making random layouts and zoning wherever you want. The commercials are there in their respective places. On the collector you have a ton of them, with the big retailer on the left on the neighborhood main road but closer to the collector. And then on the right side we have reduced the amount of commercials on the main road by a lot, which not only makes things realistic but also doesn't throw out the vibe of the neighborhood. And lastly, the main key point of this, the houses and the trees working together to pull this off. And we have finally ended our district planning series, filled with lots of adventure and learning processes. I think we have covered all the grounds related to it, but we still have to discuss one thing that I mentioned in the intro: a new way to create cinematics. This new way has changed everything related to how I create cinematics. In fact, I have been doing it since last 3 videos on the channel, and it is by using controller. Yes, you heard that right. We still haven't gotten console release, but Colossal Order is surely implementing some things behind our backs. I personally have Xbox controller, but all you gotta do is just use it. You can control each and every part of the game except some, if not all, the mods, as they are external and we don't have the support for them. But you can surely come to options and change all the related settings from here, speed and everything. For now, these are my recommended settings for speed. So this will slow down your movements enough that you can make some really cool cinematics. But for navigation wise, I will say it might be a tad bit slow. So at that time, you just switch to mouse, go to the location and switch back. It's instant. Go to the camera tool, change the stuffs if you want to, hide the camera UI and just enjoy controlling the camera via the controller. It is that easy. The main advantage to make cinematics or roam around the city with controller is that you won't have this massive issue while creating cinematics, because this would drive me nuts and make me rage quit, as you would literally couldn't be able to make cinematics from one angle as this would happen. But this eliminates it entirely. You don't have to worry about that. And with this, I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something. And if you did, then please leave a like, subscribe to the channel to see more content like these. Check out my Patreon to support the work that I do. And I will catch you guys in the next one. And as always, happy building.